Shoes. How many different types of heel can you have on a shoe? I can think of the regular heel, the stiletto heel, but I'm sure there's others. You might find out, and I don't know about that, but Jefferies. I reckon that's I was looking at Jack's shoe. He's got a regular heel.
What are those called?
Just their regular
heel.
Regular heel.
Standard.
A
what?
Kitten heel.
Kitten.
Which is just like a short heel.
Ooh.
And then you got like the stiletto. Then you got like the clump. What's the clump?
The clump.
Oh, Hercules. Okay.
What is it? It's like the wedge. The wedge.
The clump.
Yeah, we call them clumps in Australia. No, don't they have clumps wedge or something?
Just
or
wedges?
Cumps or something. I got to do a little business at the top of the show. I stupidly said that I was going to be performing with Bert Kreischer at Red Rock. It turns out that the advertising never went out. There's no tickets being sold yet. I'm sure Bert's getting another comedian, or maybe he's doing it by himself. But I can't do it because my baby's due date's the same day as the show, so I had to move it. So I really, really wanted to do the gig, but you know they reckon it's a fucking you only fucking have a child.
It's supposed to be an important day.
Yeah, it's supposed, and my wife wants me there,
which is annoying.
Oh, she's needy. She's needy. Just ring me up.
It's like, what am I supposed to do that day?
Ring me up and FaceTime me the child. I'll go, oh, it's beautiful, and then I'll go out drinking with Bert or whatever I get up to.
Celebrate with my family.
Yeah. And then even sadder than that, the day after that concert was Jimmy Buffett, and I'll get to miss out on that. So this kid's already fucking my life up left, right, and center.
Name him Jimmy in honor.
No,
we already. I don't care telling you the name. If we're going to call the kid Charlie, we're not one of these dumb people who think, we'll wait until we see the child. When we see the child, we'll know what to name them. And we'll go, that looks like a Gary. No, it fucking doesn't.
Looks like a lump.
Yeah. Look, we're going to call this one hemorrhoid because it's all pink and puffy and, it's all screaming or, you know what I mean? Prune is going to be a good name for it.
Twin sister placenta.
Yeah.
Hercules.
Yeah, so I don't subscribe to that. Also, I really dislike people who don't find out the sex of their child until it's born. I have a friend who went, there's so few surprises in this world. You still get the surprise when the doctor tells you. You have that surprise, plus you have the surprise of meeting the child. You get two surprises. What do you want all your surprises on one day? Try to space your surprises out. That's if any new parents, that's what I suggest. Also,
the thing, you make a good point.
Yeah.
When your baby's born, if you already know the sex, you're not like, who cares? I already know. You're very excited the baby's born. The sex isn't even the biggest thing. You're like, wow, there's a living thing here right now.
Yeah, and you get to see what its little face is like, and if it resembles your wife or you or whatever. You know what I mean? You get to do
I'm with you. Those people are idiots. I'm on the train.
Those people are idiots. And then
my brother and sister-in-law did that with my nephews.
That's Scott all day.
No, brother-in-law?
Oh, brother-in-law.
No, Scott and my sister-in-law.
Oh, I thought you said your brother-in-law.
Yeah, that's Scott all day.
Scott.
Well, wait. And also, because they had two boys, so maybe the second one they wanted to be a girl, maybe, just so they have a bit of everything. And then, it comes out, and I've told this story many times. I came out, my mother wanted a girl, wouldn't fucking hold me. Right? That's not a good way to enter the world. If that lady was more prepped up to have a boy, she would have come to terms with it before I came out instead of having a hissy fit after she gave birth.
Yeah, I think generally people that wait don't have a preference on boy or girl. If you're really strongly wanting one thing, you should definitely find out.
My wife wanted a daughter. She was a little disappointed, but now she's getting into the whole idea of having a boy. I don't know if I meant to have said all these things. I could get in trouble with my wife. I don't know.
But that's a good point. What you just said. What you just said about your mom and your wife is now you're prepped instead of being like, well,
what the hell?
But also just you get to know what color to paint the nursery. And I painted it pink because color has no gender.
Well, pink used to be the color for baby boys.
Oh, did it? Oh, here we go.
I don't know about that.
Back in the beginning of time.
Back when they used to wear wigs and powder their noses and all type of stuff. And here he is, a dandy pink.
Yeah, it was a masculine color back then.
Yeah. Get him a cravat. He's a baby boy. No, we didn't. We just kept the nursery the same color, white.
Yeah.
Nice and neutral.
Yeah, white's neutral. White's throughout history, the color white has never caused any offense to
No,
ever or
nothing.
done
I
anything
can't
wrong.
think of anything.
Yeah, so that's good.
It's true.
What do you got for us, Jack?
Comment world.
All right.
You think you're so smart, just think your voice should be heard. Fuck you! You're just a dumbass in no one really asked you. So sit back and listen to Jack Hackett for a short and straight Jack and Jefferies shit on your thoughts in comment world.
You do.
Have we heard that one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
from
like the Blink 182.
Fernando
It is a
Macias.
good one, though.
Yeah,
What
it's
was
a
that?
good one. Fernando Macias. Very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Oh,
Fernando
I
put a
like that.
lot of production into that.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
It's a legit
Take it
song.
on the road.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right, we got a review. 5-star review.
All right.
Wow.
That's
You
the
get so
rule.
many of
That's the
those.
rule to get on Comment World. So it's not that exciting.
Yeah, we saw 1 star. You're not coming on
You're
Comment
not
World.
allowed to because you can write an nasty review. You have to give us 5 stars if you want to get a mention.
That's right. I've watched every episode from beginning to end and look forward to Tuesday every week. Love when Jim reads commercials.
Mm.
I've warmed up to Jack, who I didn't think I liked in the beginning. Cool.
good.
Love Kelly and Forrest is a good balance, but is always way too serious. Loosen up, Forrest. Oh,
Loosen up.
Okay.
please go 5 more years doing these.
Did you hear Forrest say the fun thing about the clumps? He did a different
Yeah.
character.
I'm
He's
loose. I'm loose today.
he's very jovial sort of fellow.
Loose.
Yeah.
Oh, that. By the way, I didn't know that they could write a 5-star review and a bad comment. That I don't think you just released that. I don't think people knew that.
What are you talking
Yeah.
about? I get that all the time.
Oh,
Yeah. No. The rule is you only get read on Comment World if you get 5 stars.
Yeah.
We're not encouraging, but if you like hate us and you want us to know,
Give us a 5-star
give
review.
us a 5-star
You'll be
review
read
and you
out loud.
may get on Comment World.
Okay. Yeah.
We got another 5-star review.
It's a good deal.
They said it's both informative and misinformative.
Yes. Correct.
Ah, yes. A lot of people were angry about World War II. It turns out it's complicated.
Yeah.
And a lot of different things happened.
A lot of different
exactly.
viewpoints
Wait,
on
wait.
World War.
What are people angry about?
As
On World War II.
what beaches were on D-Day and what the 3 Reichs were because we were unsure. And
I only saw one comment. It was like, that guy, there were 5 beaches. That guy said fucking 4. What a fucking moron. And you're like, okay, just calm down.
maybe
Yeah.
the 5th one sucked. Who knows?
Maybe it was a bad
Yeah.
beach.
The nude beach.
Yeah.
No one wants to know about that. That's some of the worst stuff happened in the war there on the nude beach.
Some Nazis wrote in. It's like, no, we did win morally.
Another 5-star review as usual, and they said no Jack, no show. They said just realized the show when Jack was away was more disjointed than usual. He is back and it's slightly smooth, so
No.
top notch. Pay the Korean Jesus more.
Yeah. Sign Jack's mom.
No Jack. No Jack, no show. That's what used to happen on Happy Days. Like Fonzie's mother used to write in, like in the first few episodes. Like this is back before people could comment, and she
Yeah.
was like, "I like to watch that Happy Days." Because they're Jewish, I'm doing that was my voice. I like to watch that Happy Days. I tell you who is good. The boy who plays the Fonz. That was the thing. Kept on writing in, and she wrote so many letters that people went, "Oh wow, he's really popular. We should put him at the front." Like she was writing like 10 letters a day.
Oh,
And then-
really?
yeah, and then eventually they're like, "This guy's got a bit of momentum. We put him in more storylines," and then Fonzie took off.
I like that his mom sounds vaguely like Al Pacino.
Yeah. Oh,
Hey, hoo-ah.
hey, I like that Fonzie.
Kelly,
Sit on it. Ooh.
Say hello to my little friend.
Kelly got a message from a guy named Robert.
Oh.
The message was,
Nothing to do with the show.
nope. He says, your podcast sucks. And then
Oh.
Kelly responds, wait, I'm sorry. I'm a little starstruck. Is this the Robert? Like the one we all hear about? And then he responds, what are you talking about? And then Kelly goes, no need to be modest. You're the Robert who tells us if things are good or bad. The only man who opinions matter. This is huge. And then Robert goes, go to hell.
Wow.
And then Kelly goes, we're already here, Robert. It's this DM. And then he goes, you're a bitch. And Kelly goes, well, that makes 2 of us now, doesn't it, Robert?
Got
This is
it.
the thing you posted,
Yeah,
right? Publicly,
yeah.
as in your DM. Yeah.
And Robert didn't give us a 5-star review, so they can seep through.
If there's no stars or rating system, the negatives will still come
If
through.
you DM us something bad, we'll
Yeah, we'll
definitely
still
say
read it, yeah.
Especially if we have a good comeback, we'll read it. If we don't, It will never be read.
So you got some momentum with that, huh? People were like,
Yeah, there was a page that shared it that had like 100,000 followers, and it's mostly like a bodybuilding page. So we got a ton of new followers from that. I got like 700 new followers that
Damn.
day.
they should go back and listen to Martin Leachy's our strongman competition.
Well, yeah, and he follows that page too, so he liked the post and all that.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. Well, there, Robert, I can't believe you get to talk to him.
I know.
What was he like?
He was really nice.
And curt.
Yeah. And he had some very good constructive criticism, like going
point.
to hell.
Yeah. Go to hell.
Also, his first thing was like, your podcast sucks.
I was like, I wasn't even mean to him.
It doesn't even hurt you. You're just like, there's nothing that, like, if you want to hurt someone, put in some details.
Yeah.
Everyone out there, you got to put like, something.
Like you look like Dave Grohl if.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
We like that. That's
Those ones hurt.
Yeah.
They hurt after a while, of course. We got the hashtag trending to get you on America's Got Talent.
Oh, yeah.
Australia's Got Talent.
Good. No, I want fuck Australia's Got Talent.
Okay, what doesn't matter.
I'm
Stay
after
here.
America's.
Stay here.
So it's hard to tell.
Yeah, I'm after America's Got Talent now. I'm coming for your spot, Simon Cowell. I'm sure they're giving him his.
Howie Mandel, you can get him out of
I
there.
get Howie. I'm doing Howie's podcast soon, so what I'll do is I'll just I'll slip him something in his coffee. If it's not over Zoom, I don't know.
Excellent idea.
You have to get somebody to do it for the inside.
I'll give his computer a virus. I don't know how you do that.
We'll figure it out.
I think if anyone's zooming my computer, their computer's stuffed.
Are you going to bring that up when you talk to him about Australia's Got Talent?
Maybe. I do the Mick Malloy show in Australia every week, and that's where it sort of hit. And then we'd already recorded our one, so we weren't doubling down on all that sort of stuff. Anyway, so I did it again, the Mick Malloy show last night, and it became quite the news story in Australia, me upsetting Manu, the chef. And so I've doubled down. I don't care. I'm just going for it now.
You should go on a full podcast tour just talking about that. I'd be like, he's really upset about this.
He might be the nicest bloke in the world.
I'm sure he
I have
is.
nothing against the guy. This has just gotten out of hand. And I can't steady the ship, so I got to stick to it. So what are you going to judge, Manu? Some puppetry? Like those old mannequins, the wooden ones that are on the fucking cross thing with the strings?
Marionettes.
Yeah, people think that's shit, except for the French who enjoy it.
And Team America.
Yeah. I had
That's a
Team
good
America,
movie.
but Team America was taking the piss then.
I did not know you were talking about marionettes. These are mannequins on strings.
Yeah, mannequins. That's what a marionette is, a mannequin on a
Yeah,
string.
it's true.
I wonder if you get like a big thing and you get a crane, whether you could do that to a full-size mannequin.
Of course.
Oh,
It's just
yeah.
Weekend at Bernie's, basically.
Yeah.
Someone says Adelaide sounds like a failed attempt to yodel.
Adelaide. Yeah. You know what Adelaide did? I don't know if they did it, but like Adelaide's it's a okay place, but it's a pretty, standard sort of city, And they tried to spruce the place up a bit by doing the word Adelaide in the hills with the same font and spacing as the Hollywood sign.
Oh.
What hills?
They've got like a hill at the back.
Just
I've
one
been
hill.
there several times.
They've
I
got,
don't remember
they
the
got
hills.
like one hill.
Yeah, it's not very prominent.
Yeah. They got one hill, and they were going to go Adelaide, and the letters all spaced. So people were like, "Am I in Hollywood, or am I in Adelaide?" This must be with the other place where the movie stars hang out.
Yeah.
Probably is now in Australia.
Yeah.
But as we talk in Australia, they bloody shut down Melbourne again because there's 30-something more cases. And so they've shut down the whole state again. And so Australia's got to start getting the vaccine.
Yeah.
The whole country's just like, well, why do we need it? We're all blocked off. No one can get in. Because eventually you'll want to go somewhere. And whether you like it or not, and I'm speaking to my dad here, tourists have to return. You have to let people into the country to have a look. You can't just go, oh, we've got the Great Barrier Reef and this big rock in the middle, and we've got koalas and kangaroos, and no one's allowed to see them.
That's not nice.
It's just for us.
This is a lull.
Thought I'd get some more support on that.
Edit that out there, that lull right there.
Put in a huge audience laughter. Someone asked, why do you guys always disregard hockey when you talk about sports? I mean, when you talk about U.S. major sports, hockey never makes the cut. I'm Canadian, by the way.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But wait, when do we talk about sports?
We've done basketball episodes.
Yeah, we didn't.
And
have
we did-
I love hockey. Hockey's one of my favorite
baseball
sports.
juicing early on, but You know, look, sure, we could talk about hockey. I've watched all the Mighty Duck movies, if that helps. I'm watching Mighty Ducks Game Changers like every week as it comes out.
Is it good?
Yeah, it is good. Yeah.
Alright.
There's a kid in that TV show who's so funny, who he's going to have a real career if he doesn't just fucking blow it with drugs or someone puts him in the wrong movie franchise and he fucks up. Yeah.
Well, we haven't talked about all the animals either. Like we'll get to it.
You haven't talked about palm trees.
Yeah.
Oh, but hockey, I got to tell
have
you.
JJ Whitehead
when Wayne Gretzky was going down the ice, no one quite held the puck as good as he could. He could do things that no one else could do. And now other players can do it. But back then it was revolutionary.
Jack and I went to a Blackhawks Kings game.
That's true.
A couple years ago. I was drinking double vodka sodas and you had ice cream sandwiches.
That sounds right.
Yeah. He really knows how to party at a hockey
Yeah.
game.
I was driving.
Oh,
Me crazy.
Yeah, everyone else was blackout.
me great.
Maybe Uber next time. Get a drink.
Nah.
We'll do a hockey episode at some point, I'm
Yeah.
sure. We'll have JJ Whitehead on.
They were a plucky ragtag team. Our friend Jason Whitehead, he loves hockey, and he once took me out to the Las Vegas Knights, and they were making the Stanley Cup, and he goes, it's their first year in, so they're the 8th player from each league. So they are a plucky ragtag team of players who all have to prove themselves. No one thought they'd do anything. And I was like, he still didn't get me interested. He didn't sell it to me.
Plucky.
What's funny is you sound nothing like JJ Whitehead when you're doing that.
Oh, no. My impersonation of all Canadians are exactly the same.
Stoners.
Yeah, I used to think that they were all stoned, and then they're just Canadians. I like Canadians though. I tell you what, I feel akin to Canadians in the same. But I feel like they're close to being Australian Canadians. Just they're like snow Australians.
Mm.
How so?
They're just they dress a bit basic. They've got like their outfit that they want. That's a bit lumberjacky. They're Australians are a bit like that, and they're also a bit more outdoorsy than Americans. And
Yeah, there's like a few cities, like Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal, very cosmopolitan, and the rest of it, it's like Australia is just you're in the outback, basically.
Yeah, it's a big country with only a few populated areas, and the rest is just sort of desolate or ice or snow or whatever. I just feel it's got a lot of similarities to Australia.
Last comment for today. Someone said, I'm still PTSD from the episode Jim and Jack took their shirts off. Jim too bright white to see clearly. Jack with the upper body definition of a drop scone.
Yeah,
I don't know what a drop scone is.
No, it's a drop scone.
Like
Like
a
scones,
scone,
like a little
like a
tiny
little pastry.
tiny type of biscuit. It's
Biscuit,
like
yeah.
it's
That's what a
like a
drop scone
mini
is?
it's like a mini biscuit in
They
American
dropped it on the
terms.
ground.
I think they're saying your upper
yeah,
body looks
yeah.
bad.
Yeah, and also
No, I got that part.
and
That part came
also
through.
the scone. They're trying to be a bit fancy. I always say he's got a face like a dropped pie.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Just
a
look
meat
messed up.
pie, or you got a face like a bucket of smashed crabs.
And then there's an emoji of pancakes.
Or Jack looks like he fell out of the ugly tree and hit every branch on the way down.
That was a big tree.
Whoever hit Jack with the ugly stick took a run up. These are all fun things to say.
Yeah.
Jack's ugly.
Did he say that he was talking about your body? Oh, I don't know any body once. I just wanted to vent.
Yeah, you
know,
don't usually make
I've
fun of the
upset
torso.
Jack now. You're not ugly. You're
He's
good looking.
Yeah.
You look like Dave Grohl if he was a bucket of smashed crabs.
You're a butterface and a butter body.
All right, cool. Let's go to some ads.
Whoa, it's the season to be grilling. It's grilling season's here, baby. Get ready for that summer cookout. Luckily, today's sponsor, ButcherBox, believes everyone deserves high-quality, humanely sourced meat. ButcherBox couldn't be easier. Just sign up, select your box. Sexual innuendo. And then they ship it right to your door every month. And new members will get free bacon for life when they sign up. Free bacon for life! ButcherBox is a no-brainer. It's the best quality meat shipped right to my door. 11 pounds of it.
9 to 11.
Oh, 9 to 11.
God.
Okay, I fixed it. Don't worry, it's okay. I don't think anyone noticed. Enough for 24 individual meals, or 24 individuals in one meal.
Oh.
Plus, it's super affordable, and the meat is humanely sourced and raised, which is important to me and my family. Back by popular demand, receive Bacon for Life. Bacon for Life! Right now, new members can get Bacon for Life when they sign up. Just go to butcherbox.com/IDK. That's a package of free bacon in every box for life. Just your life, not the life of your loved ones.
The life of your
For
subscription.
the life of your subscription, when you go to butcherbox.com/IDK, that's free bacon for life.
Unless you stop your subscription.
As long as you got the subscription. Okay, well that was ButcherBox. Now I go in. I'm not even going to.
Got a computer.
Jack gave this to me. I think it's mine now.
I've never seen you on a computer before.
That's actually true.
That's where most people watch me. What does your personal care routine say about you? Whether keep it simple or have a 10-step plan, premium grooming products make all the difference in how you look and feel. With Hawthorne, you can get the most out of your personal care routine with high-quality shampoo, body wash, and hand soaps, even a luxurious sandalwood shaving cream. I shaved yesterday and used it, and it was very good.
Did you get your Hawthorne? I got it.
I
got it.
It's
Dude,
on the way.
I already had Hawthorne products before they became a sponsor, so I already know. I use their face cream a lot and the sunscreen stuff, but I just got the box of some stuff.
The
that we got
body
from
wash smells so good.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Just so you know how good that stuff is. Forest is 67.
Yeah. That's how good the cream is. It really does
Yeah,
wonders.
sandalwood shaving cream,
Smells good.
all made without sulfates, parabens. Is that what you say? Parabens?
Parabens, yep.
Parabens and other harsh chemicals. Hawthorne is a premium grooming brand that tailors your personal care routine to your unique profile.
That was nice that they said other harsh chemicals that you didn't have to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Yeah, other harsh chemicals. that
Other
Jim-
words I can't
No,
say.
they actually listed them. I just rounded it off in there. Chlorofocapocapane. First, take their quiz. It's all about, like, who do you think Brad Pitt was better off with? Jennifer or that other bird he had the kids with?
No, it's about your skin types.
Yeah.
Oh,
right, yeah.
it's a different quiz.
Hairs, yeah.
Take their personal quiz. There's this typo here.
They tell you about what products
They tell
are
you
important.
about the products that are important for your personal care. Like, so the quiz will be like, do you have oily skin? Do you think, do people walk past you and go, oi, pizza face?
One of the questions, yeah.
It's actually really nice not to have to think about what products I need. The quiz recommend them based on my answers. Yeah, so, they go, oh, you're a Jennifer fan. Ooh.
So wait, Jack, did you do the quiz for Jim?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've got the stuff.
He knows
covered.
his skin intimately.
Yeah, Jack knows my skin.
I got your safe ones. I got like cologne and like hand stuff.
Oh, I get terrible hands. I get psoriasis on my hands. I'll report back and see if that works. Cologne. I like my manly musk, but let's mix things up. At the end, I got an essentials bundle with all products tailored to my body type and lifestyle. They had podgy as a body type.
I picked muffin top.
Pudgy and blindingly white.
Hawthorne takes the risk out of shopping for personal care by giving you free shipping on your orders and returns. With high-quality self-care products tailored specifically to your needs from Hawthorne, looking your best has never been easier. Take the Hawthorne quiz today and get started on your personal self-care routine by going to hawthorne.co and use the promo code IDK to get 10% off your first purchase. That's fucking madness. That has to be a typo.
No, it's
Check
10.
it out. It
That's
says
not
here,
a typo.
It
Definitely
says here
10%.
10%. So
Now it's right.
Hawthorne, you have to stick to these crazy discounts. You have to stick to them. You've said it now. That's HAWTHORNE.co, promo code IDK, hawthorne.co, promo code IDK. Hawthorne, why don't you try to smell good?
Yep.
I come up with different slogans for the companies that they even asked for.
Please welcome our guest this week, Professor Alan Pietrobon.
G'day, Alan. Now it's time to play.
Yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. Judging a book by its cover.
All right. So Alan is...
I told you he was a professor.
Yeah, Alan's
So
a
you got-
professor. He's got a typewriter behind him. I am a slight typewriter enthusiast.
Are you?
Yeah, not
A slight enthusiast.
no. I've got an app. I've got an app in my phone that can send texts that look like they're typed, which is actually the app is owned by Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks has this typewriter thing. He's obsessed with typewriters, Tom Hanks. When I got my house, I bought a typewriter. I've got a real old school typewriter. It only cost me a couple $100. And sometimes I might send my wife a message or something on a printed typewriter and stuff like that. And that does well.
Yeah, so he has a typewriter and a typewriter.
And a typewriter poster. So, and he's got a dial-up phone. Fucking what's behind you? The Enigma machine? So I'm going to say that he's a hipster. But are you a professor of old technology, historical technology?
Yeah, that's the thing.
We're gonna need
professor of old
I
technology.
can use him for my TV pitch.
No, but like it's a history thing, like old inventions. Like, you know, when you did history at school and you could do like regular history or ancient history, or modern history was like Hitler, and then ancient history was like, and we found a spoon under Mount Vesuvius. You know, those type of things, right? Or rudimentary toys. Okay, so does what you're talking about have anything to do with typewriters?
No.
Okay, well, I wasted a lot of time on that.
Right in the time period. You're in the right time period, at least.
Okay, so you're a professor of history.
I am a professor of history by training. I'm officially a professor of global affairs, which includes history and foreign policy.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. So he's going to be talking about spies and espionage.
Now, I'll tell you what, you have probably watched a documentary on this because you've watched, I think.
And we talked about it a little in our
the podcast
gun
we
law
recorded,
episode.
but we recorded yesterday. The gun law comes out next week, but we recorded it yesterday. She started talking about an event that happened that was related exactly to our topic. When she was doing it, I was like, well, that was weird.
The Kennedy assassination.
No. Now, there's a documentary about this, probably by the same person that you watched the Vietnam War documentary. And
it's Ken Burns. You're a historian of baseball.
No.
I wish I knew a bit about that.
You do. You probably know. You probably know about this indirectly too.
The Civil War.
Nah, think about something
You
that
would have been really
that
upset if you
enjoyed
went
doing
through
throughout
it.
your life.
But you stopped doing.
Yeah.
I stopped doing this, but I used to do it.
Yeah, a lot.
Drugs.
Close.
Taking drugs.
Drinking. Prohibition.
Maybe he hasn't stopped taking drugs.
Dr. Alan Pietrobon is here to talk about prohibition in the United States. He's an assistant professor of global affairs at Trinity Washington University in Washington, D.C. He specializes in modern American history and U.S. foreign policy. He's also an award-winning public speaker and has given some fascinating public lectures about topics like looking at the history of road trips and American culture or the history of food and dining in the United States. His talks are available to watch on his website, alanpietrobon.com. We'll put that there so everyone can see it, but it's ALLENPIETROBON. Thanks for being here.
I'm excited.
Yeah, so
I don't know much about prohibition. I know what it is. But
yeah,
but I'll give it a go.
Yeah. So and is there anything else you want to say? I know we introduced you properly, but sometimes our guests talk about how you came to be an quote unquote expert on this. So, you know.
Yeah, kind of in a roundabout way. My actual research is in nuclear weapons and Cold War policies, but I'm a historian of modern America, which includes the 1920s. And I became fascinated with this era mainly because I don't know if you've ever played that game of like, if I could go back in time and live through a different era. For me, it was probably the 1920s. So this is more I got out of interest. I got really into this.
So to answer your question, Forrest, the 1920s was when Prohibition happened. I got a point. I don't
even have that question on her. So,
Of course you were going to ask that.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to ask Jim what he knows about Prohibition in the United States. I'll ask you a couple questions about other countries too, maybe. And then when we're done seeing what his knowledge is, Professor, you're going to grade him 0 through 10, 10 being the best. On accuracy, Kelly's going to grade him on confidence. I'm going to grade him on et cetera. If you score 21 through 30, you'll be untouchable because, you know, like the Untouchables.
Right. Yeah. Untouchable. Kimmy Schmidt.
You've never seen the Untouchables movie?
Yes, I have seen the Untouchables.
Okay. 11 through 20, touchable. 0 through 10, touchable. But why would you want to? So that's.
I can't remember. All I remember is a pram going down a staircase and people shooting and stuff.
You don't even know who was in the movie? There's no questions about the movie.
I know it was Kevin Costner. I've always thought that Kevin Costner was a very overrated actor.
Sean Connery was in it.
Sean Connery, but
Andy Garcia.
Kevin Costner doesn't emote. And he just picks good films. I like all Kevin Costner movies. I just don't like him. He just You have to get off my land. I'm Wyatt Earp. Well, shut up, Kevin.
There's going to be an article about the scathing Kevin Costner review coming out
Kevin
soon.
Costner and the French chef are going to team up on you.
Jefferies slams
What do you
Kevin
mean, get
Costner.
off my lawn? Well, that was Clint
He does the
Eastwood.
thing with Wyatt Earp where he's just like, he's not good.
All right, let's start.
Like Dancing with Wolves was only 3 hours because he talks so fucking slowly. You could have bashed that film out in an hour and a half.
What is prohibition like as it relates to alcohol?
Prohibitions when a prostitute wants to actually become something more.
Pro ambition.
Prohibition?
Prohibition.
Okay.
No, prohibition is making alcohol illegal. Is the simple answer, and that was something that happened in America where you weren't allowed to drink.
Okay.
What's
Not
the more
that alcohol is limited. I'm sure you could still use alcohol in things like medical things, but the consumption of alcohol was made illegal.
Okay, so you said that was in the 20s. I don't even know how you knew that. But so what's the first example in history of like the world of prohibition?
Oh, Korag, the caveman, told his wife, "You're drinking too much," and she said, "I stay at home all day while you're all out fun hunting saber-toothed tigers. What else am I meant to do?" And she had some juniper berries and made some gin, and off she drank.
How many countries like in the world is alcohol currently banned in? Or can you name 5 of them? Let's put
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
it's banned in. You got Saudi Arabia, so it's all Arab. It's all.
I'm just gonna write that down.
Saudi Arabia, East Arabia.
It's Muslim places. It's Muslim places. So I want to say I'll give it. But I've drunk in all these places. I've drunk in Saudi Arabia. Yeah. Iraq, Afghanistan. But I've always done it on army bases. So but I'm going to say Iraq, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia. And then there'll be something like maybe parts of Indonesia because of but not all of Indonesia because you can drink in Bali and all that type of stuff. But I want to say Indonesia.
So do you know what years prohibition was in the United States?
From 1922 till 1927.
Okay, very confident. And then what events led up to prohibition? Like why did it come about?
People were coming back from the First World War and they were getting a bit of PTSD and they really didn't know how to sort of handle the PTSD, so they were turning to the bottle. And domestic abuse was actually going through the roof, and they started to say it was the devil's work, and so it was a lot of women's groups that actually started up sort of the don't drink anymore because they were sick of being slapped around by their husbands. And then I'm sure religion got involved, and then they weren't allowed to drink. And then that pushed it underground. And then people like Al Capone were making shitloads of money actually trying to sell moonshine and liquor to different people. And actually it made the mafia, the rise of the mafia.
Mm. Do you know what the temperance movement was?
The temperance, it would have something. There would have been a group of women who weren't happy with drunk men.
That's all women.
Yeah. Look, in my experience, that's the only way you can stop drinking.
What do you mean?
Just some woman goes, "You've had enough."
Okay. What amendment in the U.S. Constitution banned alcohol and which one repealed it?
Yeah, that's one of the things because there's 2 amendments for prohibition, right?
Takes up a chunk of the Constitution.
Because there's isn't there like 27?
You should just have erased it, right?
There's 27. Yeah, you should have just got rid of it. I think it's like probably it's the second and the first. No, I want to say I'll say it's like the 16th and the 21st.
Okay. What president was in power at the start of Prohibition, and what was his stance on it?
Prohibition. President.
George Washington?
Yeah. Okay, so no, it wouldn't have been Roosevelt. It would have been before Roosevelt. Eisenhower was after. Okay, so I'm gonna say it was. I don't know.
And for or against it, whichever president.
The president was against it.
Against it.
For it.
For it.
For it.
Pro. Okay.
Yeah.
Prohibition.
Pro.
Okay. Why was the amendment eventually repealed? Like what?
Because you can't stop people from drinking booze, and so they just went, oh, all right, because with so much illegal activity, it was like it's the same reason that now people are thinking about legalizing drugs, because it takes more crime away by legalizing them, and we get tax money. People are going to do it anyway, so why not we get the revenue from it?
And is there any parts of the U.S. where alcohol is still banned?
Utah. Utah still is a dry state, although we drank there. It's banned, but it's not banned. It's like you can't see an alcoholic beverage being poured, but they can go around a little corner and pour it for you. But you can't actually. It's allegedly a dry state of Utah.
Okay. Did it work or no? What was I going to say?
Utah?
No, I'm sorry. Did people drink? Did people drink less? Were they healthier? Did it decrease crime?
No, it did not work in any way. It did not work.
No
one drank. It just put parties underground. And people,
what percentage of the U.S. obey the laws, do you think?
50%, 70%, but it's the 30%, 70% obeyed the laws. It's still the same now, I guess. Like underage drinking, I'm sure 50% of kids don't underage drink, but the other 50% are fucking going for it.
So 50% obeyed. Okay.
Yes, it's 50.
Okay. What is medical liquor?
Medical liquor is things like rubbing alcohol and stuff like that you can actually put on a wound.
But in relation to prohibition, what would medical liquor be?
Oh,
give me a hint.
So if somebody had the DTs and they were shaking too much, they'd go, "We'd have a couple of beers down at the doctor's office. You'll be right."
What does Thunder Road refer to?
Thunder Road. Thunder Road would be a place where the bootleggers would do their little trip to get the alcohol, maybe down from, I'm going to say from Canada into America.
Well, I was going to ask you, where did the alcohol come during Prohibition? Like, how did they get it?
They made a lot of like the hillbillies. I always watch that show Moonshiners and think, what the fuck are these dumb rednecks doing in the hills still making fucking alcohol? Alcohol's super legal and really, really easy to get. And they're just like, I've got this still in the woods that could kill a lot of people if this thing explodes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's a high alcohol content.
Yeah, then just, because you can't get alcohol into you quick enough. They haven't made it. You can buy 80% proof fucking rum and you're like, well, I got to get that moonshine.
One sip and I'm done.
Yeah, so moonshiners were people who made it in stills privately like that. And then other alcohol would be shipped through, if the Simpsons, it was in a bowling ball up an alleyway into Moe's bar.
You talked a little bit about organized crime. You said Al Capone. Anybody else? Like, do you know who Lucky Luciano was?
Lucky Luciano, he was friends with Sinatra, and he actually gave Sinatra a lighter. And then Sinatra was sort of wrapped up with doing private gigs for Lucky Luciano. And so when we do the Sinatra podcast, I'm all over that.
What about Arnold Rothstein?
Arnold Rothstein, he was worked for the authorities, and he was the one who was trying to get them all. See, in the end, they couldn't get Al Capone, so they got him on tax problems.
Good confidence, but that's wrong.
They did it. They got him on tax things, tax fraud.
Not Arnold Rothstein. What is a blind pig or a blind tiger?
It's when a couple of Argos get married.
Okay. What was the Cullen Harrison Act? Last question.
The what?
Cullen Harrison.
The Cullen Harrison Act was Cullen Harrison. He was actually killed by a drink driver. And that was to make it so that you can't be drinking intoxicated.
I think the cars only went 10 miles an hour then. So.
Yeah, fucking that's how drunk these people were.
Okay, Professor Alan Pietrobon, how did Jim do 0 to 10, 10 being the best on his knowledge of the Prohibition era?
Well, I'm very impressed, I will say.
Get out of here. Come on.
Surprisingly impressive. But that being said, I don't know, 7 maybe.
Yeah, man.
I'll be generous.
Korak the caveman was one of his answers. He said,
there's a couple answers that were just dead wrong. So,
okay. Jim likes to go through and always say you should get a higher score as we're answering. I'm going to show you all the ones you had wrong.
Yeah. Sometimes I think I get ripped off by these professors. But this one I've done all right.
All right. Kelly, how are you doing confidence?
I think I'm going to give you a 4 on confidence.
Oh, I thought it was
I pointed my finger like this on one of the answers.
Yeah, it felt forced.
Yeah, I'll give you a 10 on etc. You're untouchable.
You haven't upset me. Is there something interfering with your happiness? Yep, there is. There's a few things. There's a few things.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
me too.
I've put out some hits. Or is preventing you from achieving your goals. Look, during COVID and all that sort of stuff, everyone's gone through depression. Depression's a terrible thing. I've spoken very openly about my depression, and I've found therapy to actually be something that has very much helped me. I used to be a very anti-therapist person. I was one of these fucking wanker comedians that goes, my therapy, I just get on stage.
Oh,
That's
Wait,
where I get all my stuff out. You know, I just get on stage. Turned out it didn't work. Still very depressed. Had to go to a therapist. BetterHelp. Go to BetterHelp. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start communicating in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not a self-help line. It's a professional counseling done securely online. There is a broad range of expertise available, which may not be locally available in many areas. The service is available for clients worldwide, all over the place. You're in a fucking igloo, you get on BetterHelp and they'll help you out. You can just log into your account anytime and send a message to your counselor. You'll get a timely and thoughtful response. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. So you won't have to ever sit in those uncomfortable waiting rooms where you have to press the button and people are looking at you thinking, what's wrong with this fella? BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling and financial aid is available. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. I actually do use BetterHelp. BetterHelp is a thing that can help you as well. Visit their website and read their testimonials that are posted daily. Visit betterhelp.com/IDK. That's better, H-E-L-P, and join the over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. In fact, this is a fact. So many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and the I Don't Know About That listeners are getting 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/IDK. Make sure you use the /IDK at the end of betterhelp.com and you will get 10% off. All right, hope that helps you out, people. Look, I'd like to read an ad here, but I have a problem.
What?
I wish I was a big workout guy, but if only there was something there to help me, because I have problems and issues with motivation. If only I had what's this ad for? What? Peloton? Peloton has been such a big part of me keeping in somewhat of a shape, right? Without Peloton, this could be a lot worse. Peloton's really just put sandbag in this flood of my fatness. It's doing good work for me. I know once I hop on, the instructors will provide the motivation and good music. I can pick the type of music workout that I need to get a good sweat in.
You've had one for a while, right?
I've had one for a while. I do use it. Use it. Amos has a profile on there as well, Amos Gill, a friend of ours, and I have never gotten close to one of his records. I try to beat him.
Seems intense.
He doesn't know that I'm in this competition with him. Where I've gone onto his one and said, "What's his best workout?" All right, I'm not even close. Whether you're looking for some extra encouragement, structured workouts, or just in the mood for a laugh, their instructors, they're here to bring the best out of you during each class. Peloton isn't just game-changing cardio. Add strength class to your ride and combine cardio and strength in one workout, like a bike boot camp, to get your total body fitness experience. From beginner programs to Tabata. What does that mean? Tabata?
Tabata, I think it is. It's a type of workout.
Tabata intervals. I've never done the Tabata. I'm going to go home and do a bit of Tabata. That might be something for me. Peloton meets your every step in your fitness journey. As you progress, choose from a wide range of cycling classes that meet you on any level, be whether yours or a level above you that you're not ready for. And keep the challenge every time you clip in. Limitless classes varieties with every endless variety of live and on-demand cycling classes, plus live and on-demand yoga strength classes and stretching classes off your bike. You'll keep coming back for more. Get started on your Peloton journey. Go to One Peloton, OnePeloton.com to learn more. That's OnePeloton.com. What do you got to lose?
So I asked Jim, what is prohibition? He said making the consumption of alcohol legal. Is it that simple, basically?
Technically, yes, but also it's like a lot more complicated, like everything. But there were these two laws, and this sort of ties into one of the questions about what's the Volstead Act. So you have a constitutional amendment. This is one of the things you got wrong. It is the 18th Amendment, not the 16th, but you did get the 21st Amendment right that repeals prohibition in 1933.
Good guess.
Oh no, I knew they were in that bracket. I knew they were way down there. I have actually read the Constitution.
And I forgot to ask about the Volstead Act, but yeah, you were saying, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah. So it's, to put it like, to boil down all this complex politics into simplicity here, the US Congress takes a vote. Do you want to ban alcohol? Yes or no? And they vote overwhelmingly yes. And then it goes out to the states to be ratified. And they quickly also say yes. But then it has to come back to say, well, what does it actually mean then? We now need to like write the law of how do we enforce this? What's going to be banned? What are the punishments? And that's the Volstead Act, which is separate from the actual like yes or no vote. And when it comes back, the confusing and sort of hair pulling out part of it is when Congress voted yes on prohibition, many of them never actually thought it would A, pass, B, get ratified by the states, and C, actually be as harsh as it was. Many thought that it would ban hard liquor, but beer and wine, that would still be allowed. And when it came back to actually write the law, they gave it over to Andrew Volstead, who was a hardliner, who interpreted this to say, no, everything is banned. You can't drink anything, not even wine or cider or beer, which was sort of the threshold that they thought would happen.
Could you cook with it?
You couldn't even cook with it. Well, in restaurants, you couldn't cook with it. At your private home, you could, because the law, interestingly, does not ban the consumption of alcohol. It just bans its manufacture, transport, import, export, and a couple of other things. So in your private home, you can use it. If you had bought it before prohibition was enacted, it's still illegal to buy. But one of the hilarious things is they give a 1-year grace period. The law passes and they say, okay, alcohol is going to be banned in 1 year. So of course, everyone rushes out and buys up as much as they can and, fills their basements and their attics with alcohol because it doesn't ban you drinking privately.
Right.
Oh my God, Costco would have crushed that year.
I always think it's like with weed. Weed for a while was illegal. It was illegal. You couldn't be arrested for taking weed or owning weed, but you could be arrested for selling weed or growing weed. Mm-hmm. But if you take it or own it, someone had to grow it and someone had to sell it. Right. So they're accepting something that's legal after all these illegal things have happened before that got to there.
Yeah.
And so with the alcohol, so you could have it in your home after the thing, but you could only drink it within your house. You couldn't go to a park. You couldn't take it to a party. Could you have friends over to drink it with you?
So you were allowed to serve alcohol to bona fide guests. So like invited official guests of your home, you could serve them alcohol.
What about someone like Forrest who just shows up at me house and he's not proper invited? Would he be allowed? Does there need to be a card involved?
Right. And that's sort of like the legal trickery here. The whole thing of like, we can't ban you from drinking it because, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but the idea that you can't get in trouble for doing something if when you did it, it was legal to do it. So if I bought alcohol when it was legal to buy it, it's my property now. Mm-hmm. And the government can seize it, but they have to pay it, like pay a fair price to buy that back. Mm. So they tried to get around that. But also, you've got bourbon distilleries that age their product for years. And they've got millions of dollars just sitting in these warehouses that they can't, that would be unwarranted seizure of my property if you're just going to ban me. So with this 1 year grace period, it gives them like, you got to sell all your product, right? If you own a wine store, you've got 1 year to sell everything and then you can't sell it anymore.
So they couldn't sell outside, like I assume, like say Jack Daniels existed back then, right? Okay, so the Jack Daniels distillery in Lynchburg, Tennessee or whatever. So that was there. Now, they couldn't sell their stuff to Canada. They couldn't sell it to Australia. They couldn't sell it anywhere because like for a while, their pinball machines were made in America, but pinball was banned up until the 70s, but they were all made here and sold overseas. So they couldn't even sell to other countries? Yeah,
illegal to import or export throughout Prohibition.
Why didn't they move down to Mexico or up to Canada to put their distilleries, or did they?
I actually don't know I don't have any info on if a company's like, all right, I'm out of the US, I'm moving across the border to Canada. I do know one of the largest distilleries in the world in Toronto, Canada, did booming business, sort of illegally importing it into the US during this time. So some distillers in the US chose to sell off all their products. Many said, well, we'll just lock the door to the warehouse and keep aging it. We think this is eventually going to end. And so we'll have some really good, really old whiskey and bourbon when this finally ends.
What was the reasoning for making it illegal?
Well, yeah, well, there's a question we were about to get to that.
Oh, I said it's because wives were getting slapped.
Yeah,
up.
we can get to that. We can jump around. Like, what event? First of all, what it was from when to when? We'll just get to that. What year?
Yeah, January 17th, 1920 until December 5th, 1933.
Okay, Jim got
So
that
12
wrong.
years.
That's
Yeah, but
minus point.
I told you the real juicy bit of
22 to 27.
22 to 27
That's
was
what
when
it
it
was.
really was
Hot
like everyone's home alcohol had run out,
Yeah.
and they were just like,
So
fuck.
1920 is when it went into effect, or that was the year first where they said you have a year, or is that?
It goes into effect about midnight, January 1920.
Oh, so New Year's Eve, people are partying, and then at midnight they're like, everyone put it away.
January 20th.
All right, so that was it.
Yeah.
It was like the last night, and everyone must have got real fucked up, eh?
Yeah, huge parties, and then after midnight you can raise your glass of water to toast, I guess. But, yeah. Although the funny thing is, the first violation of the Volstead Act was recorded just 57 minutes later, 57 minutes after midnight. So that's it. It was 57 minutes. It worked, and then it was all downhill after that.
I remember because there was a short period in time when I was living in Britain where magic mushrooms were legal in the UK because someone found a loophole in the law. And then they decided to make them illegal. And the last weekend they gave us was Glastonbury, right?
gosh.
Which is the Coachella of Britain, right? The big thing, right? And so there was people just like trying to sell their stock out, right? They just like, people had stores of just mountains of mushrooms, just like 50 cents for a hit. And everyone was tripping balls on that fucking weekend. So yeah, I can only imagine how it would have been with alcohol. That must have been a shitty time to be a policeman that fucking night.
And then, as Jack was asking, he's off camera, you can't see him, what events led up to Prohibition? Jim said people were coming back from the First World War. They turned the bottle.
It wasn't, I mean, that's a good educated guess, but it wasn't the First World War. In fact, technically Prohibition starts before World War, or before it actually starts, but during World War I, because there is, during the war, after the U.S. enters in 1917, there's a temporary prohibition put into place because we need the grains to feed the troops. Let's not waste them making alcohol. And at the time, the American people were okay with that. It's patriotic. We're doing our duty. I can temporarily stop drinking. But also because the major breweries in the U.S. were owned by Germans. So like, stick it to the German enemy. Ruin their business.
I tell you what, I reckon a few American soldiers who were living in America when Prohibition happened go, look, I'm going to go fight in Germany. It's just the easiest way to still get drunk.
Yeah. So it's technically starts a little bit before 1920, but then it's, it ends and then they started again. They decided to make it permanent. But it's the complicated part is it's not one event. Jeff was partly, Jim was partly right about it was domestic abuse was a major problem through the 1800s. Americans drank an enormous amount compared to today. About my sort of back of the envelope calculations, about 88 liters of whiskey per year compared to about 13 liters today on average.
Each 88 liters?
Yeah.
What the
Whiskey?
fuck?
Oh my God.
No wonder you look at old pictures of people in the old time and go, their diets weren't as good. They were fucking alcoholics.
They're
Why
all
they died so young?
They're 20. They're 23. They look 67.
33 liters. Even at the peak of my drink, and that was the average person, the peak of my drinking, not even close. That's a liter a week, and then you have like, I didn't have a liter that week and stuff like that. Like
it's 88 liters
88.
a year. So
it's more than a liter a week.
Yeah, it's almost like 2 liters a week. It's just under 2 liters a week of alcohol.
That's nonstop.
Maybe I get it why they tried to get rid of it. Oh my God.
2 liters. And that's the average person. Then there's some cunt who's, you don't want to go near Dennis. He drinks too much. and Dennis is on 4 liters a week.
Yeah, because there's people that don't drink, so Dennis is like, I'll drink your liters.
And Long John Daly was only doing fucking half a liter a day, and he was a full-blown shaking fucking alcoholic, and that was just a normal person back then. Also, I want to change an answer. Woodrow Wilson, give him a go.
That's it.
Woodrow Wilson.
That was the answer.
Yeah, I got it. Because then when he said the war and the thing, I remembered Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah,
Woodrow Wilson.
We'll get there.
Okay, so I'm up to 8 points now. I would have gotten 85 if I said Woodrow Wilson.
So we're still talking about the events that led up to it.
Yeah, I mean, so like that alone, like our reaction to that, like obviously, right? This wasn't just people drank. No, people were drunks constantly in America. Like this was a real problem.
Yeah.
And was that just their whiskey intake? That wasn't just including the beers on top.
Yeah.
And also, once I'm done with whiskey, I have a bit of vodka.
Yeah.
That was just whiskey.
Yeah. So the stat, if I recall, is just whiskey. Now, they didn't really drink as much beer or as much wine. You know, vodka wasn't really a thing. So it's like whiskeys and bourbons are the primary drinking vehicle. And then cider, people drink a lot of cider, but like wine doesn't really take off until much later.
It shows how much of a fat bastard we are in the modern era, because if I drink too much, I gain a lot of weight, but it's really more that got to do with our fucking diets. Because you look at pictures of people back then, they're like slim and they're smoking a cigarette like, hey, we're going to beat those Nazis when they come along.
Well, they also walked everywhere, too.
Yeah, but they were drinking 88 litres of whiskey.
But when you walk a mile with a liter of whiskey.
It must be the chemicals in our fucking food, because if I drank 88 litres of whiskey, I'd have diabetes like fucking that. There's a lot of sugar in whiskey.
Yep.
Was there a diabetes? Was that prevalent?
I'm not even sure they could test for it then. I'm not a medical doctor, but yeah, like we do have, there, health problems. Ulcers were huge. Liver disease clearly was huge at the time.
Gout must have been a big one. Gout. Everyone must have fucking gout.
Does the sugar make it through on whiskey though? Doesn't it get distilled out? Because whiskey's 0 carbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still filled with sugars.
Good for your health.
Yeah, it's still filled.
How though?
Who told you that? That's the same person.
Whiskey is 0 carbs.
You can't get pregnant if
look it up. Google it.
We have sex in a hot tub.
Google it.
I think we're still talking about the origins, though.
Yeah. So it's a number of things. It is a massive social problem that leads to domestic abuse. It leads to health, problems. It leads to a huge problem with absenteeism at work, especially the day after payday. No one's showing up to work because everyone's hungover in bed after you get paid and go to the bar. Which it didn't help that in many smaller cities and towns, the bar would also be like your local bank. You could go and cash your check there. So you get your money, and of course you're going to have a few drinks before going home.
They were so fucking efficient. I love it.
I'd like to cash my payday check here. Give me 5 ones and the other 200 in whiskey.
Do you have any idea if at the time, like how much was a whiskey at a bar or a beer? Do you have any idea?
Oh, good question. Often whiskey was free.
Okay. All right. Things are starting to come together for me now.
Back then they didn't have water fountains. They just had whiskey fountains for the kids.
Well, like on 2 reasons. Partly, yes. Up until like the 1860s, it was safer to drink alcohol than it was to drink the water.
So these were just health nuts. Oh, right. I didn't know about that.
Well, I forget what W.C. Fields is alive, but he has that famous quote. He goes, "I don't drink water because fish fuck in it." That's what it is. I don't know.
Yeah. So whiskey's partly, not always, but one of the promotions bars would run, especially bars near big factories, was come in, buy lunch, and you'll get a free glass of whiskey. Yeah. So on their lunch break, people go and get a nice buzz and go back to work and end up getting their arm chopped off by a machine, like industrial accidents.
Like, I'm a blacksmith and I'm drunk as shit at work.
I heard that McDonald's used to give out whiskey as a children's toy with the Happy Meal.
Well, we'll go back to the other countries thing maybe, but what was the temperance movement?
Yeah, so this... She was partly right on this. It is largely led by women, but not exclusively. It's women who often bear the brunt of the problems of alcohol, start fighting back and start these movements to not just get rid of alcohol, like we're going to solve these problems by banning the drink, but to counsel like moderation. Look, if you're going to drink, don't be crazy about it. So it was kind of like, in some ways, early rehab before that existed. You'd have groups that were against alcohol and groups that were often, in Maryland, there were groups that were heavy drinkers and wanted to like stop. And so they formed these, support groups. But religion was involved. Churches often really pushed for this. But even big industrialists like Henry Ford pushed for prohibition and temperance, because if you don't have drunk workers on your assembly line, you can build better cars and not have them getting hurt all the time.
No, and they still haven't fixed that in America. But the women were the nagging women were the original AA movement.
Yeah,
It's true. Every time you went to drink, aye, put it down.
Oh, first example in history. I think we skipped over that. He said Korg the caveman. I don't think that's right.
Boom shakalaka.
Yeah, not quite. I mean, who knows? Maybe you have a caveman trying to do temperance, but the first, at least from what I've seen, like recorded instance is 3,700 years ago when the Babylonians passed the law that you couldn't sell beer. So we can go back like almost 4,000 years. There's probably cases even further back, because one of the fascinating pieces of evidence is that no matter what time period, no matter what culture, no matter what region of the world, no matter what like dominant grain is cultivated in that region, there is evidence across history of alcohol being produced. Like all human societies at some point have figured out how to make alcohol, no matter, if you're growing rice or corn or wheat or whatever else.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of it's got to be by accident as well. They've left something and it fermented, and then
Yeah, in the heat or something like that.
I don't know. I just feel like. Okay, so they're trying to stop people 3,000 years ago. So why wouldn't they learn from that to modern day that this doesn't seem to work? Also, Jesus was an alcohol drinker. He seemed to be a pretty straight up sort of fella. Him and his 12 mates drinking wine. They could never find the right girl, could they? They'd go out to all the different bars drinking their wine.
Well, it's water that he turned into wine.
Oh, yeah.
He was a manufacturer.
I've turned wine into water. Oh, urine.
Yeah. But like we see it there too. Like alcohol is so important that it's used in religious rituals, right? The sacraments involve alcohol. So we can see it throughout all of these societies.
Yeah, we're born to drink. That's why when people like give me shit for giving homeless people money, they're like, they're just going to buy alcohol and drugs with that. I'm like, I have a house and I want to buy alcohol and drugs with this money. Like, I don't get the argument. We all want to drink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, give
except
it to
for sober people.
We went over the amendments, 18th and 21st. And then the president that was in power to start a prohibition,
Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah.
It's a good name, Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah.
He should have been a folk singer. Woody Wilson.
Woody Guthrie.
I would have fucking listened to Woody Wilson all the time. Tell me about the changing times.
And what his stance, you said he was for it, though.
He was for Prohibition. That was my guess. I picked, yep.
No, he was against Prohibition. He, in fact, vetoed
well,
the bill.
initially, but if you read the books.
If you listen to his songs, he says otherwise.
He vetoed it? I thought if it vetoed it. Yeah. And it
so he vetoed it, and then it was overridden because it can go back to the Senate, and the Senate can override a veto if they get enough votes. And they did that like almost immediately.
Was he a big drinker?
He drank. I wouldn't say that he's a big drinker, but he enjoyed alcohol like many of the presidents.
Just 66 liters a year.
Very sensible. Well, because when I was looking up, when I was trying to find questions for this, I did read that I guess when they passed it, he stored a bunch of barrels in the White House or something, which I guess is legal. And I thought that was illegal until we just started talking to you today. That's why I was like, the president was just like, fuck it, Yeah.
So you could also, there, all these loopholes. So if you owned, alcohol in your home and it's illegal to transport alcohol, but you're like moving to a different house, what do? So you can get a special permit to transport that alcohol to your new house, which is what the incoming president, Warren Harding, had to do in 1921. He brought like today's equivalent of, I think it was like $20,000 worth of alcohol into the White House and got a permit to transport it in. And Wilson, I think it was before Prohibition took effect, because his private home was also in Washington, D.C. He moved his alcohol out of the White House, knowing that his term was coming to an end the next year, and brought it back to his private home. So he drank. He was against this.
Now, with all the permits and all that type of stuff, did the cops really go over to people's houses and we hear you have alcohol, or was it just something they tried to raid bars? Because I remember when weed was illegal here and no one gave a fuck. No cop was going to bother you about a bit of weed. Were the cops heavy-handed about the whole thing, or was it a don't look, don't tell type of thing?
Yeah, in the private homes, I don't have any examples of them like raiding someone's private home if they got a tip that's, there's a couple cases of wine in the basement. And the thing is, at first, there was almost no enforcement of this law, because one of the other loopholes that Congress wrote into this was, look, law enforcement, you now have this new massive nationwide mandate to police all alcohol, but we're going to give you like 300 agents nationwide to do that with, and very little money. compared to there were, by some estimates, 30,000 illegal bars in New York City alone, and about 300 agents across the country dedicated to police.
Wait a minute, 30,000, and that was in Manhattan, all the 5 boroughs or whatever. But 30,000, I don't feel like there's 30,000 bars in New York now.
Well, this was more than there were legal bars before Prohibition. More sprouted up.
And so, how were they just doors, or did they have signs like Jim's Comic Book Hut? A bit of a winking neon sign.
That was one of the other questions: what a blind tiger or a blind pig is, but because it's kind of like speakeasy.
Oh, speakeasy.
I didn't want to say speakeasy because you know what it was.
My pet hate is when you see a bar and they go, "Yeah, we're a cool little speakeasy," and you're like, "You're a bar.
Yeah.
You're not a speakeasy." I didn't have to say anything. It's not like we're drinking past the regular. You close at a regular time. Just because your bar's a little dingy does not make a speakeasy.
Yeah. You know what's crazy when you said too, because St. Augustine is, I guess, considered the oldest city in the United States. In Florida, it's like really, and when you walk in the old part of it, there's a bar, like a replica of a bar you could drink in. And they said that there was a bar for every 7 people in this, and it was a smaller town, but you just realize how much people drank back in the day. Like, there was nothing, there's no TV.
There was no
nothing.
idea. I thought we drank more now than we'd ever drunk. So we're actually the healthiest fucking.
Yeah.
That has blown my mind more than any other fact I've ever had. 88 liters. I'd be dead by now.
That's why it's exactly why when you see pictures of people and then they didn't live as long and stuff too. They didn't have the health care, but also they were
drinking
or doing smoking or whatever.
Drinking a lot. At one season, I was drinking.
Not enough.
Not even near that.
Yeah.
And it's like I was hangovers every fucking. It's like also I was showing up drunk to work and drunk on stage. Like you must have gone into a bank and the person's just like, "How much money you want?" His fucking bus pulls up. Get on. And then you were drunk as well. Like, how you doing, Ted?
There's constant fights.
Like, why isn't all the literature just fucking written in crayon from that period on the back of a napkin?
Why was the amendment repealed? Jim said because you can't stop people from drinking booze.
Yeah, basically. I mean, like, if there's one reason, this whole thing was one of the most spectacular policy failures in U.S. history. That it didn't work. There was a brief period of time, after 1920, it's enacted, and most people, I think, Jim, you mentioned, like most people are law abiding. Like, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to have a federal crime on my record. And so many people didn't drink or drank at home. But it very quickly, people figured out, like, no one's really enforcing this at first. In fact, real harsh enforcement doesn't start until the late 1920s. And also it's a matter of people who still wanted to drink needed a little bit of time to figure out, like, where the speakeasy is, who's going to be my dealer, right? Like, where can I get this stuff? And often it was bars, like what were once legal bars would sort of take the sign down, put the closed sign out, but just like kept operating. And if you knew that the closed sign actually meant they were still open, you knew who to ask, you could get it. So go ahead.
Sorry, did the prices soar? Did they go up? Because you said the bars actually increased, so that means that as many people are going out, so the prices sort of stayed about the same. But did they go up dramatically?
It depends where. But the price does increase a little bit. Mainly the drinking rate, actually, for those who did drink, they ended up drinking more during Prohibition than before, because you're going to go all out when you're going to go.
And because there was a lot of homemade alcohol with some of the brands, like try some of Dave's bathtub.
Yeah. So like that's what it depends where. Some of it's just cheap swill. Not a lot, but some of it is like industrial alcohol, because even today, it was true back then, and even today, about 50% of the alcohol produced in the US is not you don't drink it. It's for like, well, we know hand sanitizers and like, degreasers and hospital solvents and stuff. So companies that produced that would just sort of mix it with other things and sell it on the side. If it wasn't like the poisonous stuff, you had a lot of homemade stuff. You had a lot of just really bad, quickly aged, swill whiskey, because they want to make it, sell it before they get caught. So yeah, there's a lot of junk out there, but there's also a lot of like good imported stuff, smuggled across from Canada, smuggled from Ireland or Scotland, and dropped at Atlantic City off the coast. So yeah, alcohol's still the country's still awash in alcohol even after Prohibition.
What was the number one way of smuggling it in?
So 2 ways. There's a huge pipeline coming across the Great Lakes from Canada, which had a brief prohibition also during World War I, and then mostly gave it up after that. So there's lots of people smuggling it across Canada. And there's a huge pipeline from Europe. Ships would sail over, anchor about 5 miles off the coast of the US, and then either have gangsters and rum runners from America like row out or use their powerboats to come out in the middle of the night and unload the booze, or they'd take it in and land it right around Atlantic City. So these are 2 major pipelines, but it's also just there's lots being produced in the US still too.
Yeah, there's a place up in Big Sur in California here, and there's a little hike you can do, and at the bottom there's this cave that was dug out, and it comes out in a little cove on the other side, and they said bootleggers used to come in there. So and that's just a little area. So I'm sure there's tons of those like everywhere. Yeah.
I mean, my favorite part of this is the vineyards in California, they're still operating. In fact, their sales go up because they come up with this genius thing where they take their grapes, they dry them, they compress them into this little brick, and they sell that through mail order catalogs. Because unlike beer and like hard liquor, which you need special equipment and a bunch of ingredients, wine, just you mix it with water. If you've got this dried grapes, you put it in a barrel and you let it ferment. So you could mail order these like grape bricks that on the package is like, this is for grape juice for kids. Like mix it with water, serve it to your kids. And on the package, they'd have this little helpful hint that says, warning, do not mix it with water and put it in a cupboard for 20 days because then it'll turn into wine.
Whatever
Very
you do.
bad.
Yeah, I'd like that on a cocaine packet. Whatever you do, don't roll up a note and put these into lines.
Yeah, that's funny. Is alcohol banned anywhere in the U.S. still? Jim said, yeah, Utah. I think it's more than that, right?
Yeah, there's a couple states that like technically alcohol's still banned. Kansas, Tennessee, and I think Kentucky. And Utah has got that gray area where, as you mentioned, like you can kind of get it, but also not.
I've gotten super fucked up in Kansas.
Yeah, me too.
And Tennessee and Kentucky.
Yeah, these, Kentucky bourbon, Tennessee whiskey.
Right,
but
yeah, it's like Jack Daniels is in Tennessee.
Yeah, what the
right.
hell?
So it's like technically still at the state level banned, but then they allow local counties to allow alcohol. So like you can have in the state, some like Kansas, I've been in dry counties in Kansas where you can't get alcohol.
That's right.
And then like half a mile down the road, it's free game. Like technically it still exists.
There's a dry county in Florida, only one, but my aunt lived in it where she lived in Live Oak, Florida. And there would be so many drunk driving accidents because people couldn't drink in that county. They'd drive to the next county, get fucked up. They'd try to drive home fast and crash into a tree or something. It's like not a good system.
I mean, Utah's the case. I mean, this is just a personal anecdote. So I was there a couple of years ago. I was at a bar with a British citizen who had come over to the US and never been to Utah. We're at a bar drinking. It's so busy. So he stands up with his beer to go talk to someone else. And the waitress comes over and goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. You're not allowed to stand while holding a beer." He's like, "Are you kidding me? God, state law. We've got these restrictive alcohol laws. You can't stand up while holding a beer." And he looks around and he says, "But that guy's got a gun like on his hip. You're saying he's allowed to bring a gun into the bar, but I can't stand up while holding my beer?"
Well, in her
liberal gun laws and conservative alcohol
in
laws.
her defense, she doesn't make the law.
Yeah.
There's no point arguing with her. She's not going to change it. She's just like,
When we were in Utah, we were in Moab, or where the Arches National Park, Moab. Yeah. And me and Jim and it was the tour manager. Yeah. We went to have a drink and they had to pour it behind a wall. Like they went behind a wall and they're like, "Ooh," and then they came back with it. They were like, what does that even do?
yeah. Like they can't show it and they just brought it out like, don't tell anyone.
They just think people are like babies. They have no object permanence. You go behind the wall, they're like, what happened?
So I asked, you sort of answered this. People, did they drink less? Were they healthier? Did it decrease crime? You said initially, sort of, or?
Yeah, so they were healthier for the first couple of years. The rate of hospital admissions for liver disease plummets. So like obviously people do drink less at first. What's interesting is child malnutrition falls. And the argument was that like men who would have wasted the family's money on alcohol now have all this extra money, so they feed their kids better.
Plus, the children aren't drinking their 12 liters of whiskey, which most children were drinking.
Yeah.
Or they just remembered to feed him. Like, oh shit, I got a kid. I gotta feed this thing.
Did childbirth go down and the population drop because not as many people were fucking?
I have not seen statistics on that. I don't think so.
I reckon that's pretty clear that would happen.
It's a good
I
idea.
feel like men probably just forced their wives to have sex back then. They didn't need to like get them drunk first.
No, it's not about getting them drunk. You're a bit hornier when you're drunk as well. What do you think?
No, I'm just saying, like, now it's like, oh, everybody drinks and there's a hookup culture. Whereas then I think if they wanted sex, they would just have sex.
No, but they'd make less mistakes. They'd be more rational because they weren't drunk.
Oh.
Yeah.
What percentage of the U.S. obeyed the
You
laws?
thought that everyone was just raping all day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably true.
It could be true. It could be true.
I don't know if there's statistics on this, but what percentage of the U.S. obeyed the laws? Like 50% is what Jim said.
Yeah, I haven't seen, and they probably do have stats. I don't know what they are off the top of my head. There were millions who completely just disobeyed this law, either because they thought it was ridiculous or they realized, well, no one's actually, if my chances of getting caught are almost zero at first until the late 20s, then who cares? We do have stats on even if you were caught, even if you broke the law, you were caught. In New York State, there were about 4,000 arrests of just citizens who were caught drinking. Of that, there were 6 convictions and nobody got any jail time. And what they found was that juries wouldn't convict people over this. And so they basically stopped bringing this to trial.
Now, was there a lot of protests in the street? Because whenever we have draconian laws happen now, we march and we have our Facebook accounts and all that stuff. Were there people marching the street like, oh, no, we won't go home or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, was there
That
something?
was the chant?
Yeah, or they just say, closing time. like were there protests in the street?
Yeah, so there were a lot of pro-prohibition protests leading up to it, like we want prohibition. And there weren't a lot at first, pushing back. And that's because even if you disagreed with the law, even if you drank and wanted to keep drinking, for all the reasons we've been talking about, you looked around American society and it's like, yeah, there's a bunch of drunks out here. Like something needs to be done about this. So like, I'm okay with it. I can still drink. I'll just buy a bunch and keep it in my basement.
Right.
So people were, even if you were against the law, like as President Wilson, he was against the law, not because he wanted to keep drinking, but because he thought this was going to be unenforceable, which it proved to be the case. So the protests don't start coming up until basically a decade later, and it's protests for reopening. There's these famous pictures of people marching through the streets that say, we want beer. So people by the late 20s.
Good protests.
Yeah, we want beer. And when it was clear that this had failed and it wasn't working and crime was going up and you've got all these mobsters murdering people, we got to get rid of this. So that came later.
That would have been a good protest. Every now and again they had to slow down because someone was pissing behind a tree.
It just made me think of the people who were protesting like early on when quarantine started and they're holding signs that say we want haircuts. It's just like this asinine thing.
Drunk lives matter.
Medical liquor. Jim said if someone's really sick, they could have a couple beers at the doctor.
No, it's sanitizers and ointments and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
He's partly right. So in the 1920s and before, this is before modern medicine, alcohol was prescribed as a medicine. You could get a liquor prescription. And the funny part is, like, that was normal. Often it was to treat like anxiety and social anxiety and things like that, which that works, right? They were onto something there.
Okay, doctor, I can't talk to women. hey, doctor, my hands are shaking. Drink this whiskey and stop shaking. Oh, the whiskey cures it.
How much did I have? 88 liters a year.
Yeah, I've been drinking 60 liters. Well, we're going to up your dosage to a normal person's rage.
Ooh, you're under drinking.
And now my dick doesn't work.
So you could get a prescription. And, of course, after 1921, doctors must have found that alcohol was like a miraculous cure because the prescription rate skyrocketed. But if you got a prescription, you could go and legally buy alcohol at like Walgreens or CVS at pharmacies. They could sell it over the counter with your prescription. And that was one of the ways people have still got legal alcohol.
Like the medical marijuana cards. And so you would go in, you just go, oh, I'm having a bit of anxiety.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
I'm not a very good driver.
I have trouble sleeping.
I think back like the doctors back then, so they're going, oh, we'll give medical fucking alcohol to people because okay. And then also cigarettes weren't bad for you back then. They were doing no good, doctors.
No.
They weren't helping you in any way. They were just like, have a cigarette, have some more alcohol, come and see me in the morning if you can wake up.
I'd love to do an episode on old-timey doctors.
Old-timey doctors. I have to go up to the leech market.
What does Thunder Road refer to? I think Jim got this right, where the bootleggers took their moonshine through. That was like a main road, or?
Yeah, basically. It's like there was a movie about this, and there's like a lot of myth and legend mixed up, but there was a road coming out of, I think it's like from Kentucky to Tennessee, where bootleggers would bring the bourbon and stuff and race down this road to outrun the cops because, law enforcement, to put everything in the right timeline, like cars are basically brand new. Still, police, not even all police departments used this like newfangled automobile in their policing. And so the departments that did, if they're using a Model T Ford, which tops out at 30 miles an hour, if you bought just a faster car in this era before police had radios and could radio ahead, like if you could literally outrun the police, you got away. And so these runners would just like race their cars down the road and outrun the cops.
Like the Duke boys.
Yeah.
Isn't that how NASCAR started?
It is how NASCAR started. Is sort of one of the legends.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
That's very good, Jack.
Yeah, you've got that one right.
I forget that Jack's from Atlanta and he's got a little bit of hillbilly in him.
My daddy has a moonshine machine.
Yeah, it's so NASCAR starts after Prohibition is repealed because you've got all these like young men who have bought or usually like buy stock cars and then modify them to be really fast. And now their services are no longer required, running illegal alcohol. So they start racing the cars for money. And that's sort of the origin story of NASCAR.
And did they right away put sponsors on the cars? Because I feel like Jack Daniels should have been right on that.
Seriously.
Just like, thanks for all the business, boys. Slap this on your bonnet.
Bootlegger, Jim. So we talked about that. How was alcohol made or imported? We talked about that. And also the speakeasies. Oh, role of organized crime. So Jim mentioned Al Capone, and then we asked him who Lucky Luciano was and Arnold Rothstein. But, obviously we have to talk about organized crime when we talk about Prohibition, right?
Right. And so it is Prohibition. One of the like really unintended and destructive consequences is it creates the first modern organized crime syndicates in the United States. There is so much money to be made selling and transporting and acquiring illegal alcohol that guys like Al Capone sort of start, get into this business. He claimed to be a used furniture dealer when really he's making, by my back of the envelope calculations, $1.2 million a week selling illegal alcohol.
Holy shit.
27 years old, making $1.2 million a week.
Oh, wait.
1.2 million,
that's today's money.
In today's money, yeah, sorry, in today's money.
It's
Yeah.
not that much. Is it?
That's still a lot. That's still a lot.
Insane.
Yeah, he was still doing well.
1.2 million a week. Yeah,
Man, he could have like a house.
Yeah, he'd have a real big house for a used furniture
Jack, big
salesman.
house. And so Lucky
Should have
Luciano
paid
was
his
also
taxes. He was earning good money. Should have paid his taxes.
Lucky Luciano also same thing, right? Or is that?
Yeah, him, Rothstein. George Remus is another huge guy who makes like in 4 years $250 million in today's money. Just bootlegging. And so not just like they're making tons of money. They're doing two other things. They're murdering lots of people, wiping out their rivals and their competition. It's estimated, we still don't know, but they estimate that Al Capone himself killed over 50 people, just like personally. And so it's like murder, the crime rate spikes. It basically creates this 12-year-long gang war in Chicago and New York. And the longer term thing is, they're paying enormous amounts of bribes to police officers to just look the other way, which is one of the problems. So this becomes a hugely corrupting influence among police departments. I think one of the stats was Al Capone had paid I don't remember if it was 60 or 80% of the Chicago cops to just like leave him alone and look the other way.
Wow.
So it's problematic, to say the least.
And so we all know that Chicago was the hotbed for Al Capone and all that type of stuff and Prohibition. Was that because it was the major city near Canada?
I don't know. I couldn't say for sure if it's like because it's right on the border, or if it's because it's like near the Midwest where you've got this source of bourbon, just sort of next door. I don't know why this becomes the hotbed, but even like New York is also a huge hotbed. Atlantic City, any real major city.
Yeah, but they were major cities because you're saying the boats came in the harbor and stuff. I'm going to say it's because they were near Canada. Fact, children.
All right. Because we recorded an episode yesterday. It actually doesn't come out till after this episode, but she mentioned the St. Valentine's Day massacre because we were talking about gun laws. And spoiler alert for all the people listening. Yeah, you already know, but that was the end of Prohibition, right? The St. Valentine's Day massacre. Is that the?
It didn't end Prohibition, but like it is this culmination of one of the things that starts turning the tide of like the public against Prohibition is it's like there's blood in the streets. Mm-hmm. The link back to World War I is, you've got the war, you've got these new machine guns, the infamous Tommy gun, which comes out as of the war. So the U.S. has hundreds of thousands of these surplus guns that they just sell off after the war. And so these gangsters are using like high power military weaponry when cops often aren't even carrying guns in some cities yet. And if they are, it's like Colt revolvers. Mm-hmm. And so this sparks not just, a push towards gun regulations, which they do, I think. The other podcast can talk about like the machine gun regulations that come out of this. But it sparks this massive wave of violence that people link back to Prohibition and turn against it.
All right, and then the last question I ask, and I guess maybe this is the end of Prohibition, maybe I'm wrong. What was the Cullen-Harrison Act?
Oh, well, also what other countries are dry?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't ask.
And is there any new ones that are coming on? Or
how many countries in alcohol is it currently banned? Jim said Saudi Arabia, Muslim places like Iraq, Afghanistan, parts of Indonesia, perhaps. Yeah,
basically right. Like a lot of Middle Eastern countries. I think parts of Indonesia. It's provinces in Indonesia. It's a good question of like what countries have gone, dry since the 1920s. You'd think that they've looked at the example of the United States, this colossal failure, and like, well, we're not doing that. But there are parts of Canada that are dry, often up in the northern regions that are like alcohol is banned in. But
Australia, do we know that? Because since Jim's Australian, did Australia ever have a prohibition? I don't know. Do you know, Jim?
I reckon there would have been something racist that happened where they said the Aboriginals couldn't or something like that. But I don't believe there was ever a nationwide thing. But I reckon there would have been something put in once upon a time once. But maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe not. But we were never fucking drinking 88 liters of fucking whiskey. We didn't have a real problem.
No, yeah, you guys are good.
Yeah.
So the Cullen-Harrison Act, Jim said he was killed by a drunk driver, so he made it illegal to drive drunk.
Good guess. Not at all the case. So this comes at the end of Prohibition. This is Franklin Roosevelt is now, elected in 1933, and he runs on an anti-prohibition platform, to gain that support. And at first, because it's hard to pass legislation, he starts chipping away at prohibition. So he passes an act that says you can sell alcohol up to 3.2%. So you can have like the low alcohol beers, which is what for decades up until recently cements the United States having this reputation of having a just terrible beer, because it's so low alcohol coming out of that act.
And now with the breweries, now it's like 8% and whatever. You're like, but it is true, 3.5%. So it's
Right, I'll tell a funny little story. So in America, light beer means low carb. Right. And in Australia, light beer means half alcohol. So a light beer in Australia is about 2%, 1.8% or something like that alcohol. It's what my dad drinks now. He's older. He just has light beer, It's not alcohol free, but you only get the smallest buzz off it. You can't get super wasted. It's too much drinking. Anyway, so when I first moved to America, I bought myself a car and I was driving off to the gigs, and you can have like 5 light beers and still be able to drive, right? So I was going in and having 5 light beers at every venue going, and I'm good to drive. Because I didn't know. It was just, I don't think that would have held up in court.
What?
Well, I was wondering why I was staying so thin.
Okay.
Is there any regulations? What regulations do we have on alcohol now? There's got to be something like you can't have something that's 90% or something like that. What do we have now? There must be still be alcohol control, for a lack of a better
They
term.
don't sell absinthe in stores.
Yeah, like there is still like these vestiges of prohibition that there are, and it's often at a state or local level that there are restrictions on how many breweries can operate and what they can make, how it can be sold. So like I live just outside DC in a county that still has the government run liquor stores. So like you can't sell it in grocery stores. It can only be sold by the Maryland state liquor stores. I think Delaware has that too. So yeah, I mean, more specific than that, you'd have to ask a brewer, but there are still a lot of laws about what you can do with alcohol and what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Yeah, on South Beach in Miami, which is all the clubs are up until 5 a.m. Then the bars will close and then something will open at 8 a.m. It's lots of drugs. Everyone's fucked up, but they can't sell alcohol in like stores or bodegas or something. I think it's after 10 p.m. I want to say, or something dumb like that. So if you went at like 1 a.m. to get beer, you'd have to know the right places to go. And the guy would be like, oh, I think what you're looking for is this 12-pack of ginger ale. And you're like, yeah, that is what it is. And he would put all the beers in this like ginger ale thing. You'd be like, thank you. This ginger ale is $40. So like, okay, thanks.
What's a bodega?
Bodega.
It's like a corner store.
Like a corner store.
You call it bodega?
Bodega.
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 New York.
New Yorkers
always
call
calls
it
them bodegas.
Oh, well, it sounds like a racist slur to me. A couple
full
of
of
fucking
bodegas.
bodegas came over. I wasn't happy.
And this bodega sold me $40 ginger ale. Fucking scam artist.
That was a slur. This is a part of the show called Dinner Party Facts. We ask our guests to give us a fact, something interesting or obscure that our listeners might not know that they can use to impress people about this subject of prohibition.
I'm glad I had prepared 3 because someone took mine already of the NASCAR fact.
Jack, you suck.
You're fired.
Jack says one thing the whole podcast, and if fucking this guy
You
will
look
never
like
do a
if
podcast
Dave
again.
Grohl
Thanks.
ruined our dinner party fact.
Yeah.
God damn it.
All right.
But I've got
Jack's
others in
never been to a
stores.
dinner party, so he hasn't even ever been able to use it.
Damn.
That might have been the most hurtful.
Yeah, so like NASCAR, there's this might be mythical, but UPS, the United Parcel Service that deliver your Amazon boxes, also may have got its start out of prohibition. That like NASCAR, when it ends, you've got all these guys who had bought trucks to transport like the kegs that don't fit in small fast cars, and now that their services aren't required, they start just delivering packages for businesses in cities. So that's interesting. But I think the more interesting part is, as a dinner party fact, is that kind of like dinner parties become popular. Like if the only place you can legally drink is to invite a bunch of people into your house and have a house party that's fueled by alcohol, and that's totally fine. So house parties and cocktail parties become really popular during Prohibition, and
That makes it
the cocktail itself, like mixing drinks with sodas and everything, because you often are using these really garbage alcohols that just taste awful because they're bathtub distilled. So let's mix it with some Coca-Cola, and now you got a rum and Coke, and it actually tastes pretty good.
That makes sense. And
dinner
they
party
taste the
better.
alcohol too. The alcohol lasts longer that
So
way.
they
too.
made the drink better.
And the dinner party fact.
And
That's
UPS. I have an idea for a movie where I dated a CIA agent and then I break up with her and she keeps on fucking stalking me. And the movie's called FedEx.
Well, it was a good podcast.
We'll workshop it.
up till then, but
I'm in.
Professor Alan Pietrobon, thank you for being here. Anyone that wants to see some more of his talks can go to his website, alanpietrobon.com. Anything else you'd like to say before leaving?
No, that was great.
Thank you so
I
much. That
learned
was
a lot.
fun.
Looks like you did too.
No, thank you. That
Thanks
was
for
great.
being on the show, mate. Really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're ever at a party and someone walks up to you and goes, Jim Jefferies doesn't know that Woodrow Wilson was the president that was in charge during Prohibition, go, well, I don't know about that. And you walk away. Good night, Australia.